Good evening and happy birthday to the Bill of Rights, which was officially added to the U.S. Constitution exactly 230 years ago today. Now, to start with, a judge over in Virginia, he ruled that a hospital was in contempt because they refused to administer ivermectin to a dying woman, despite the fact that her family physician recommended it. And furthermore, this judge gave the hospital two options: either administer the drug or pay a $10,000 per day fine for every day that they refuse to do so. Meanwhile, over in Colorado, a local elementary school is looking to the past. That's because that particular school is now having playground nights specifically for families of color. Let's go through it all together. This is your daily Facts Matter update, and I'm your host, Roman, from the Epoch Times. And now let's begin today's discussion over in Virginia, where a judge has just ruled in favor of holding a hospital in contempt, and he offered that hospital two options: either give ivermectin to a dying woman or pay $10,000 in fines per day for every day that they refuse to do so. Now, before we dive into the story itself, I would like to mention, specifically to any YouTube censors that might be watching this video, that I have absolutely no opinion on this particular matter or about this particular drug. I am just reporting the specifics of what happened so that the people in America can be informed about what is happening in this country. And as always, I think it goes without saying that you should do your own research. You should not just listen to a guy on YouTube, and you should instead speak to your own doctor when making any kind of informed medical decisions. Now, let's get into what happened over in Virginia, specifically what happened to a certain family that was trying to make their own medical decisions. And to start with, let me give you a bit of background on this particular case. A woman by the name of Kathleen Davis, she developed a severe case of COVID, and she was sent to the Fauquier Hospital, which is located in the city of Fauquier, Virginia. However, her symptoms got progressively worse. She's been hooked up to a ventilator since November the 3rd, so well over a month now. And sadly, according to her son, she is on her deathbed. And so it was amidst this situation that the woman's family doctor prescribed ivermectin to the woman. And in case you've never heard of it, ivermectin is an FDA-approved drug which is typically prescribed to treat several types of intestinal parasites, and the drug is used fairly widespread. It's been administered to billions of people around the world. In fact, the people who discovered this particular drug, they won the 2015 Nobel Prize in Medicine. However, it is worth noting that this drug is not approved by the FDA to treat COVID, even though many people use it for that purpose anyway, including the family doctor who prescribed it to this woman who's on the ventilator. However, what happened, according to the family of this woman at least, is that the hospital, they refused to administer the ivermectin to this dying woman, citing medical, legal, as well as other concerns. And so, seeing no other option, the family of this woman, they filed a lawsuit against the hospital with the intention being to compel the hospital to administer the drug. Speaking to a local media, here's what the woman's son had to say. It's been 42 days today that she's been on the ventilator. It's a matter of life and death. She's on her deathbed. Any kind of negative repercussions from ivermectin are null and void. Furthermore, he argued that since all the other treatment options haven't worked, they should be able to try the drug. Here's what he said. I get it. The doctors at the hospital are afraid. This has become politically charged. I'm not trying to go after the hospital. I just want them to use it in hopes that it will help. I'm not saying definitely that I think 100% that ivermectin is going to work, but at the end of the day, whether my mom lives or dies, I'll be able to say we tried everything. And then, speaking a bit more directly about the issue at hand, here's what he said the hospital was actually doing. They believe it's a fight between the rights of the hospital and the rights of the citizens. They feel their rights trump her rights. And so then, after bouncing around the legal system for a little while, the case found itself before Judge James Fisher. And 3 days ago, the judge issued this official court order here, which found the hospital in contempt for, quote, needlessly interposing requirements that stand in the way of the patient's desired physician administering investigational drugs as part of the HDA and the federal and state Right to Try Acts. Now, I just want to pause here for a quick moment. The HDA that is mentioned here refers to the Healthcare Decisions Act, while the Right to Try Acts, that was something, at least at the federal level, that was passed under President Trump, and it allows people who are essentially on their deathbeds to take experimental drugs that otherwise have not been yet approved. Now, in this order, the judge then continued, and he gave the hospital two options. Here's what he wrote, quote, given the gravity of the matter at hand, the respondent, meaning the hospital, shall forfeit a sum of $10,000 per day, retroactive to the date of the court's injunction order filing, which is December the 9th, 2021, and shall continue to pay such sums until the ordered relief has been accomplished. meaning in plain language rather than legalese, that for every day after this injunction was submitted on December the 9th that the hospital refuses to administer the ivermectin, they will have to pay a penalty of $10,000 per day. And indeed, this ultimatum actually worked, because on Monday evening to be specific, the woman's son, he told a local news outlet that 2 doses of ivermectin were administered to his mother. And furthermore, here's what the son's lawyer had to say about the ruling. This judge is the hero. He had the guts, he had the stamina, he had the willingness to enforce what he said. On the flip side, however, we here at the Epoch Times, we reached out to the hospital for comment, and their spokeswoman got back to us with a statement saying that she would like to correct some of the misinformation regarding this family's treatment. Here's what she wrote to us. As outlined in the court's documents, a patient's family filed a petition seeking to compel our hospital to administer medication prescribed by an outside physician. This physician had no privileges to practice medicine at our hospital. We are unable to administer medications to our patients without a valid order from a physician on our medical staff, and that doing so would violate standard hospital practice and Virginia law. Now, to pause for a quick moment, the implication here in the statement is that the family physician wanted to prescribe ivermectin, but since none of the attending physicians at the hospital wanted to do so, well, the hospital was not able to comply even if they wanted to. She then continued by saying this, quote, "We believe that we have navigated these complexities as swiftly as possible and have remained in compliance with standard hospital practice, including federal and state regulations throughout this matter." And then she went on to say that only after the court provided what she called additional guidance and clarification were they able to administer the drug. Now, thus far, we have not heard any updates from the family, besides the one on Monday when they confirmed that the ivermectin was in fact administered. And when we hear anything from them, we will let you know right away. However, it is worth mentioning that this case in Virginia is not an isolated incident. There have in fact been many cases across the entire country, including this one here out in Illinois, wherein patients had to sue the hospital in order for them to administer this particular drug. However, there is something that I wanted to note here, and that is these different cases that are playing themselves out across the country, they are playing themselves out at the individual state level, and the individual cases are different from one another, and so you do have different rulings. For instance, this judge over in Ohio just about 6 weeks ago, he ruled in a much different direction than the case that we saw in Virginia. This judge actually said that a hospital cannot be forced to administer ivermectin to a COVID patient. And actually, the circumstances in this particular case were very similar. You had a person on a ventilator in the hospital. His personal physician had suggested that he take ivermectin, and the hospital staff wasn't complying, so they went to the judge. However, the judge in the case, he took a different route. He basically said, citing the FDA, he said that the medical and scientific communities do not support treating COVID-19 with ivermectin. Some doctors do support using the drug against COVID-19, and studies that appear to show its efficacy were limited and inconsistent. And then he wrote, quote, "Based upon the evidence, it has not been shown to be effective at this juncture." And based on that, he made the decision that hospitals can be forced to administer it. However, again, these cases vary, especially in their details, because the judge in this particular case, he said that the patient could actually get her husband admitted to a different hospital where their family physician does have privileges, and so at that hospital they could continue to use ivermectin. So again, all the details in these different cases, they vary. The states vary, the jurisdictions vary, the state laws vary. And so what we'll likely see is that these cases will continue playing themselves out. I saw that one lawyer, the same lawyer who's actually representing the case over in Virginia, he has over 150 other cases that he's overseeing as well regarding ivermectin across the country. And so what will likely happen is that eventually some case will make it up to the appellate level and then perhaps even the Supreme Court level, and then we might get some kind of a decision that will unify the entire country. Until then, if you'd like to read either this story or the other story that we discussed, I'll throw all that into the description box below. Otherwise, Roman in the studio, back to you. Which again, I just want to mention, I absolutely do not advocate for or against. I'm just reporting what is happening across the country. Otherwise, if you'd like to read about this particular case out in Virginia, including the judge's order, I will throw the links, including the link to this PDF, into the description box below this video so you can check it out for yourself. And all I ask in return is that you take a quick moment to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Now, before I move on over and discuss how an elementary school over in Colorado is quite literally segregating their children's playground, I would like to take a quick moment and introduce our sponsor for today's episode, and I will do so from the sound booth. That's right, Roman. The sponsor of today's episode is an awesome company called American Hartford Gold. As I'm sure you're aware, the rate of inflation right now in this country is accelerating like crazy. I mean, everything from the cost of lumber, cars, houses, food, gas, everything is increasing at an accelerated pace. However, in my opinion, what the most amazing aspect of the system is that you can take this money, which I actually think is as fake as monopoly money because the Fed and the Treasury just print this out of nothing, and you can use it to buy real money from American Hartford Gold, which is gold and silver coinage. Take a look. This is a box that I get every single month from American Hartford Gold sent to me because I believe it's a great hedge against inflation. This is something that has had value for 5,000 years. It's had value across the world in Russia, China, America, India. I mean, this is the real stuff right here. This is a beautiful, actually Canadian maple. And this is right here is some silver coinage. I don't know if you can see how shiny and beautiful it is. Yeah, but I just get these every single month because I believe that unfortunately the US dollar will eventually fall as the global reserve currency, as sad as that is. And I just want to hedge against those people in Washington, D.C. continuously printing our prosperity into oblivion. And I would highly recommend that you do the same. Go on over to the website for American Hartford Gold and consider doing business with them. They're an awesome company. They sponsor a program like ours, so they obviously care about the truth getting out there, but they also have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They have a great customer support staff when you call them. They're super friendly, and they make the entire process super simple because not only can you get these packages here delivered directly to your doorstep, but you can call them up and set it up so that you can actually get gold and silver directly deposited into your IRA account, again, making it all super simple. And right now they're offering a special to viewers of Facts Matter where depending on how much you buy, how much gold and silver you buy, they will throw in $1,500 worth of free silver on your first order. So give them a call at 866-242-2352 or text Roman to 65532. Also, I'll throw a link to their website down in the description box below. And American Hartford Gold, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode. Now Roman in the studio, back to you. And now let's move on over to Colorado, and to start with, let me show you a picture from the 1940s. It was taken at the Centennial Elementary School in Colorado, and it's a sign that says, quote, Families of Color Playground Night, Wednesday at 4:10 p.m. Now, of course, it is true that segregation was a dark part of American history. However, I was not telling you the truth, because this picture, it was not taken in the 1940s. This picture was actually taken 2 days ago. That's right. In the year 2021, and under the guise of pushing inclusivity and diversity, a Colorado elementary school thought that this was a good idea. A racially segregated Families of Color Playground Night. Now this picture, it was first shared by a journalist named Christopher Rufo, who posted this on Twitter. Denver Public Schools now promoting racially segregated playtime for equity. And then looking a bit further into it, it appears that this is not a one-off event. That's because the Centennial Elementary School, which by the way is part of the broader Denver public school system, they posted on Facebook that this will be a new tradition. Here's what they wrote. The Families of Color Playground Night will be October the 13th. It will continue to be the second Wednesday of the month, November 10th, December the 8th, etc., at school, outside, as long as weather permits. Now you might be asking yourself, is this even legal? Particularly given the fact that this is happening on public property and at a public school, no less. Well, according to Mr. David Kopel, who is a law professor over at Denver University, he said that this is in direct violation of the Colorado Constitution, specifically Article 9, Section 8, which says, quote, nor shall any distinction or classification of pupils be made on account of race or color. However, there is nothing to worry about, because regardless of what that sign actually said, the Centennial Elementary School, they released a statement saying that, quote, all families are welcome to attend all of our events. And then furthermore, because they received so much criticism from that particular photo going viral on social media, they released a longer statement saying that this colored-only playground time was actually what the community requested. Here's what they wrote. Some of these families shared with us that since the only time that many of them see one another is at drop-off and pickup times, we host some events where Black families can meet one another, connect with one another, and share their experiences about the school with one another. We are honoring their request. Although frankly, they did not clarify why these parents are not able to do that at the playground as it is. Regardless though, the Denver public school system, they came in and they also issued a statement of their own which defended this elementary school, saying that this quote, colored-only playground time was prompted by a specific request from families to create a space of belonging and was not meant to create division. However, Mr. Christopher Rufo, who is again the journalist who initially broke the story, and he's also an expert at exposing critical race theory in the realm of education, he did not agree. Here was his response to the Denver public school system. Critical race theory has revived racial segregation in America's public institutions. Denver Public Schools' racially segregated playtime is racism under the guise of equity. Denver Public Schools should immediately suspend this program, which violates the Colorado Constitution. Regardless, though, it was reported that due to COVID protocols, they actually had to reschedule the first of these Families of Color Playground Nights until the new year. And so I guess if you live in the Colorado Springs area, you have a lot to look forward to in the year 2022, like for instance, a repeat of history. If you'd like to read more about this case out in Colorado, I will throw the links to it into the description box below this video for you to check out. And again, all I ask in return is that if you haven't already, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Now lastly, with Christmas and New Year right around the corner, if you are still looking for a great gift for someone, then I would highly recommend the Epoch Times. Right now, we are offering awesome gift packages, which include many different things. There's actually different tiers of gift packages, depending on who you're giving it to. Maybe you give a smaller gift package to your distant cousin versus your brother who you love. And the different packages include a subscription to the Epoch Times newspaper, delivered to their doorstep every single week. Also, unlimited access to the website, to the Epoch Times website, as well as subscriptions to several magazines that we publish, such as this one here, Inside by the Epoch Times, as well as another one called Radiant Life. And they will also get infographics that we publish, which connect the dots around complex issues in beautiful and easy to understand ways. If you want to check out the full list of the gift packages that you can buy, you can do so over at readepoch.com/gift. I will also throw the link to it. It'll be right there at the very top of the description box. I hope you check it out and send those gifts to as many people as you can. Now lastly, if you haven't already, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already, in order to get this type of honest news content delivered directly into your YouTube feed, while YouTube still allows it. Also consider hitting that notification bell so you can actually be notified of any new videos as we release them. And then lastly, if you have a Telegram account, consider following me at factsmatter_Roman. I publish all my links there, so just in case anything ever happens here on YouTube and you suddenly can't find us, well, on Telegram, you can always find the link to wherever we publish our videos. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed and stay free.